Hello my best friends. My name is Layla and this is Layla Flicks. Our movie today begins with a story from the past. In that story, we see the two heroes, NeZha and Bing, who managed to protect the world after uniting together. Because of their many adventures, the two became close friends. Then we move to the present time, where we see Master Tai, who decides to use the Lotus Furnace to create new bodies for NeZha and Bing after they had died and turned into spirits in their last battle. At that moment, we see the furnace transforming into the magical Lotus Cauldron. A large number of small flowers appear around it, and many roots come out and extend deep into the lake. The townspeople go down to the lake, gather these roots, cut them, grind them into powder, and place the mixture on fire. All this happens under the supervision of Tai. As soon as the mixture is ready, Tai pushes NeZha and Bing into it, and then the flying pig starts carving their forms. Moments later, NeZha and Bing regain their true shapes, but strangely, their bodies are still not fully solid. When NeZha and Bing see their new bodies, they are overjoyed and thank Tai. At that time, the commander Li Jing and his wife Yin arrive and tell them that they have gathered the army at the city's pass to defend against the evil Shen if he decides to attack with his monsters. But Tai interrupts them, reassuring them that the dragons are protecting the world from the monsters and that it's impossible for them to reach this place. Then Tai uses his skills to merge the power of water with Bing and places him inside a lotus flower. After some time, he takes him out in a water bubble. He then goes to NeZha, puts his collar around him, merges the power of fire with him, and places him inside a lotus flower. During this process, Li Jing asks Bing not to leave the bubble around him because his body is still incomplete. Suddenly, a soldier arrives to inform Li Jing that Shen has reached the city pass, alone. Li Jing and his wife Yin decide to go and face him. At the city pass, a large number of soldiers are fully prepared for battle. When Li Jing arrives, he begins talking to Shen, asking him to retreat, as it's impossible to defeat an entire army alone. Shen mocks him, showing his anger because they discovered his plan and caused his disciples' death. Li Jing interrupts, trying to explain that Bing is still alive, but Shen doesn't believe him. He takes out a claw of the dragon Run, breaks it into small pieces, merges it with his weapon, and scatters the fragments around the city. The claw pieces open portals in the sky, and suddenly, volcanic lava pours out, surrounding the entire city. From the lava, monsters that had been sealed underground emerge. All the soldiers are shocked at what they see, and even Li Jing and his wife Yin don't understand how this is happening. Those monsters were supposed to be imprisoned underground. Meanwhile, we see the Dragon King Guang and his sister Run. She explains the danger of the chain spell that binds them, telling him that as long as it exists, the dragons and monsters can never escape. We return to Tai, who is waiting for NeZha to emerge from the lotus flower. Suddenly, a sea monster rises from below the ground along with the fortress guards, mocking them as he escapes. As usual, the guards blame each other and start fighting, but Tai stops them and orders them to form a barrier to protect themselves from any possible attack. Then we go back to the volcanic lava, where we see the monsters leaping from the portals and attacking the city fortress from every direction. Despite their massive numbers, each of them is still bound by the chain spell. The soldiers shoot arrows at them while they are still in the air, successfully hitting them one after another. Still, the monsters manage to land on the fortress, attacking the soldiers with great ferocity and destroying the warships. The monsters are much stronger than humans and far greater in number. At that time, Yin fights one of the monster generals skillfully, dodging his attacks and striking him with full force, knocking him into the debris. Li Jing attacks the second commander, cutting off his arms, but they grow back again, and the commander continues attacking. Li Jing doesn't give up, he keeps dodging and cutting his arms again. Then the commander launches a volley of arrows and destroys the catapult, but Li Jing spots a group of spears nearby, grabs them, and pins the commander to the ground. Meanwhile, Shen sees the fortress inside the city and rushes toward it. When Li Jing and his wife Yin see him, they fly after him to protect Tai, NeZha, and Ao Bing. When Shen reaches the fortress, he discovers that Ao Bing is indeed alive and realizes NeZha is inside the lotus flower. He tries to destroy it, but his attacks don't affect the fortress because it's too strong. So, Shen uses his weapon to open a huge portal, and suddenly, 3 dragons emerge and surround the fortress. They unleash all their power to attack it until it collapses completely. At that moment, Ao Bing creates an ice shield to protect Tai and NeZha, but since his body wasn't ready, using the power of the goodness gem weakens him severely. Ao Guang senses his son's energy, leaves his palace, and rushes to him. He finds his son falling, runs toward him, transforms into his human form, and embraces him, terrified for his life. Ao Bing apologizes for not doing what his father asked, but Ao Guang tells him that his safety matters more than anything. Suddenly, Ao Bing begins turning into stone. As soon as NeZha comes out of the lotus flower, he is shocked and runs to check on his friend, who is on the verge of death. Tai intervenes, explains what happened, and tells them that Ao Bing's body wasn't ready to handle the power of the goodness gem. He warns NeZha to be careful, but NeZha only cares about saving his friend's life and begs Tai to do whatever it takes to rescue him. Meanwhile, Shen is stunned when he sees the lotus flower turning into stone. And so, they would no longer be able to create a new body for Ao Bing, who accepts his fate, thanks NeZha for everything he has done for him, and begs his father to spare the lives of the townspeople. As soon as he turns to stone, his soul leaves his body. At that moment, Tai gets an idea to preserve Ao Bing's soul. He asks NeZha to allow him to let Ao Bing share his body. That's exactly what happens. Ao Bing's spirit begins merging with NeZha's body. After what happened, Tai explains to everyone that this solution will not last more than 7 days, so they must get the restoration elixir for the lotus flower. He tells them that the elixir is kept in a building called Chan Palace, and by retrieving it, they can repair the flower and create a new body for Ao Bing. However, Shen believes this is too risky. Tai might tell the Grand Master Tianzuan what the dragons have done, and Tianzuan would never save the life of a dragon. Ao Guang becomes angry and declares he will save his son's life even if he has to attack Chan Palace itself. But Shen interrupts him, saying he has another idea. NeZha should participate in the Monster Hunter trials. If he passes the tests, he will have the right to obtain any magical artifact from the palace, including the restoration elixir and the protection charm. Tai objects to the idea, warning that once NeZha uses his power, people will discover that he carries the demon orb. Shen reminds him that Ao Bing shares the same body with NeZha. If Ao Bing uses his own power instead, no one will find out the truth. At that point, Li Jing steps in, suggesting they simply tell Master Tianzuan everything that happened, believing he will understand and help save Ao Bing. But Ao Guang becomes furious at Li Jing's words and orders his dragon brothers to seize Li Jing, his wife Yin, and Tai. He reminds Li Jing that he has lived for thousands of years and knows Tianzuan and the monster hunters would never forgive them for what happened. He threatens that if his son dies, he will drown the city in lava and let the monsters kill everyone in it. NeZha grows angry at Ao Guang and vows to save his friend's life no matter what. He threatens that if anything happens to the city, he will destroy the Dragon Palace and defeat them completely. Ao Guang becomes afraid and releases Li Jing, Yin, and Tai. He tells them that no one will leave the city except NeZha and Tai, who will go participate in the Monster Hunter trials. He warns that if anyone discovers the truth, he will annihilate the entire city. He then goes to warn Shen about his 3 dragon brothers, since he doesn't trust them, and leaves to let the mission begin. Later, the townspeople come and thank NeZha for saving them, and the little children apologize for how they treated him before. After some time, Li Jing visits his son NeZha and asks him to play the shuttlecock game together. NeZha is delighted and plays joyfully with his father. After a while, NeZha bids farewell to his parents, rides the flying pig with Tai, and they take off to begin their mission. On the way, Tai tells NeZha that they must train Ao Bing to control the shared body so that no one discovers he carries the demon orb. They both stop on a mountain, where NeZha relaxes and lets Ao Bing take control of the body. Unfortunately, Ao Bing struggles and rolls down the mountain, but luckily manages to catch himself before falling into a mud pond, until Tai accidentally falls on him, splashing mud all over. After a while, Tai gets another idea and gives NeZha some sleeping pills. NeZha takes a large amount and completely loses consciousness. Suddenly, when NeZha wakes up, his face has changed into Ao Bing's face, meaning Ao Bing now has full control of the body. They continue their journey together. Along the way, Tai tells Ao Bing that NeZha loves his siblings deeply, even though he has never met them, since they train far away. Soon, Tai and Ao Bing arrive at the city where Chan Palace is located. They are amazed to see the monster hunters capturing numerous beasts. They keep flying until they reach the palace, where a special vessel, known as one of the greatest treasures, is kept. As soon as they enter the palace, Master Wu Liyang greets them warmly. Tai learns that Wu Liyang is currently in charge of the palace in the absence of Master Tianzuan. Tai congratulates him and introduces NeZha. Wu Liyang proudly welcomes the bearer of the Spirit Orb of Goodness to the Monster Hunter trials. Suddenly, the sleeping pills wear off, and Ao Bing turns back into NeZha, who starts acting strangely, but fortunately, Wu Liyang doesn't notice. After a while, Wu Liyang introduces Tai to his disciple, Dairo, the commander of the Hunter army, in whom he has great trust. He tells them that Dairo will accompany NeZha during the Monster Hunter trials. Meanwhile, the monsters surrounding the city are watching as soldiers repair the walls. Shen is attacked by a group of monsters hurling fireballs, but he deflects their attacks and trains with great skill. Suddenly, Li Jing arrives and asks Shen to open the city gate so they can buy food and medicine for the injured soldiers. Unfortunately, Shen refuses, mocks him, and shows him the sea beast, explaining that no one, not even a monster, is allowed to leave the city. Despite Li Jing's repeated pleas, Shen remains adamant. Then the guards bring a small boy, saying he was spying on them. When the boy changes shape into a leopard, Shen recognizes him and happily rushes to free him. They start talking, and we learn that the boy is Shen's younger brother Xiao, who explains that he has searched for Shen everywhere. He reassures him that their father and clan are doing well and that their father has become full of vitality since Shen became Master Tianzuan's disciple. Shen is overjoyed and asks Xiao why he came here. Xiao reminds him of his promise, that once he could transform into human form, Shen would take him to Chan Palace. But Xiao is surprised to find that the place is filled with so many monsters. And Shen asks why he is besieging this city, and at that moment Shen becomes nervous and doesn't know what to say. Then Li Jing steps in and explains to Xiao that Shen and the monsters with him were helping them defend against evil creatures. Xiao becomes happy, grows even more attached to his brother, and asks when he will take him to Chan Palace. At that time, Shen apologizes to him, saying he can't do that right now. At first Xiao becomes very sad, but then Shen comforts him and gives him all the energy pills he took from Chan Palace, telling him that the power of one pill equals 10 years of training, and asking him to take them and return to their clan. Xiao becomes sorrowful, thanks him, and leaves. Because of Li Jing's behavior, Shen changes his mind and asks him to leave him a list of all the food and medicine they need, promising to get them himself. Li Jing interrupts him, saying he only did that for his brother, whom he considers his role model, and not for Shen. He then takes the sea beast and leaves. After that we move to the Monster Hunter trials, where the first level includes a large group of monsters living peacefully together without harming anyone. Suddenly NeZha arrives and tells them he came to capture them. The monster's leader gets angry and mocks him. Then NeZha takes one of the sleeping pills to give Ao Bing control of his body, and Ao Bing frightens the monsters with his combat abilities. The leader gives his weapon to his assistant to fight NeZha, but the sleeping pill's effect ends, and NeZha returns to normal. As soon as he tries to take another pill, he is struck by a strong blow, causing all the sleeping pills to spill into a food bowl. At that moment, we see Tai, Dairo, and the monster hunters watching from afar, not understanding what's happening to NeZha, who goes and drinks the entire bowl because the pills dissolved in it. Then Ao Bing regains control of the body again. The monster leader takes his hammer and starts attacking, but Ao Bing strikes him with many strong hits. When the leader's assistant sees this, he decides to face him too. Suddenly Ao Bing becomes weak from the food bowl NeZha drank, loses control, and NeZha takes back his body, but he's still disoriented. The assistant attacks with many blows, and NeZha can't block them. Meanwhile Dairo watches, confused by what's happening, but Tai stops him from interfering and distracts him. NeZha is beaten repeatedly and thrown to the ground, and then the assistant continues his attack, dropping many rocks over him. All the surrounding monsters cheer for the assistant, thinking he has become stronger than their leader. The leader gets angry, pulls NeZha out to strike him, but suddenly he's hit by Ao Bing, who woke up after NeZha lost consciousness. When the assistant attacks again, Ao Bing throws him onto his leader. All the monsters panic and try to flee, but the monster hunters swoop in, trap them in nets, and surround them. Then Dairo explains to Ao Bing that they take these monsters to Chan Palace to rehabilitate them and make them kind. When Dairo notices NeZha's strange appearance, Tai distracts him. After a while, they all return to the city where Chan Palace is located. The townspeople watch the monster hunters parade, and some mock NeZha for not being as handsome as his older brothers. NeZha becomes angry and wants to hit them, but Tai stops him. That night, Wuli Yang and Tai stand on a high place, and Wuli Yang explains that they will contact the masters once all the stars align. Moments later, a spectral image of the masters appears. Wuli Yang greets them, introduces Tai, and tells them he fulfilled Master Tianzuan's expectations by perfectly training the bearer of the spirit orb of goodness, NeZha. Then Wuli Yang shows them a large number of energy pills, explaining that they will be distributed according to each one's rank, and that one pill equals 10 years of training. The masters are amazed by the amount of pills and don't understand how Wuli Yang produced so many. His assistant, Karina, explains that Wuli Yang works tirelessly at Chan Palace's cauldron to make all these, so the masters thank him for his great effort. They ask if any evil power could threaten them, and Dairo responds that only one force could be dangerous, the dragons, suggesting they attack them as soon as possible. NeZha and Tai are shocked by Dairo's words, but fortunately, all the masters reject the idea, saying the dragons surrendered in the last war and agreed to guard the world from the monsters underground, so they can't be attacked without reason. Before the council ends, the masters who train NeZha's brothers suggest allowing NeZha to meet his older brothers. NeZha becomes nervous, leaves, and talks with Ao Bing, feeling hesitant to meet them because he isn't ready and doesn't look as handsome as they do. Ao Bing encourages him, assuring him that his brothers will love him no matter what. Still nervous, NeZha decides to take a sleeping pill to lose consciousness and let Ao Bing meet them instead. That's what happens. Ao Bing returns to the council and meets NeZha's two brothers. Wuli Yang and Tai leave them alone to talk. After a while, NeZha wakes up crying and asks Ao Bing what happened. Ao Bing tells him he's lucky to have such brothers. They apologized for not visiting since his birth, said they checked on him and their parents, and told him to ask for their help anytime he needs it. And that's because they will always be his brothers at any time and under any circumstances, so NeZha becomes emotional and cries, then goes to sit alone. When Ao Bing notices how sad he is, he sits beside him and comforts him. At that moment, NeZha tells him that both of them are a burden on their families because they were born as monsters. He begins to speak passionately, saying that he will change his destiny because he is the only one who can choose his own path. Ao Bing becomes encouraged and motivated by NeZha's words. The next day, we go to the second level of the Monster Hunter trials, where we see a man named Bao training a group of small monsters. Suddenly, NeZha arrives at the place and takes one of the sleeping pills, allowing Ao Bing to control his body. Ao Bing attacks Bao, dodges his rope strikes, takes the rope from him, and hits him with a strong blow that throws him powerfully into the lake. But Bao quickly reappears, surrounding Ao Bing with water from all sides, attacks him with very fast strikes, suddenly disappears. Then appears again somewhere else and hits Ao Bing with a strong blow that sends him flying. He tells him to leave. At that moment, Tai and Dairo are watching them from above the waterfall, not understanding the secret of Bao's strength and speed. Ao Bing attacks Bao again, but Bao moves rapidly from one place to another, striking Ao Bing, who manages to grab him with great difficulty. Then Bao takes him and jumps into the lake, which suddenly disappears in the water's depths, then reappears and attacks again even faster. Ao Bing realizes that Bao turns into an electric current, and thanks to the water, his speed increases even more. Bao attacks with many strong and extremely fast strikes, but suddenly the lake and the waterfall freeze completely. When Bao comes out of the ice, he is amazed by Ao Bing's freezing power, yet he doesn't give up. He writes a set of spells on his hands, and because of those spells, the sky above them fills with clouds. Not far from them, we see Xiao returning to his clan. As soon as he sees the clouds in the sky, he realizes his father is in danger and rushes toward him. We then learn that Bao is the father of Shen and Xiao. We return to Ao Bing and Bao, who are fighting each other fiercely. Because of the rain pouring from the sky, Bao can move at high speed and attacks Ao Bing with consecutive, powerful strikes, destroying the waterfall completely. He lifts him high into the sky, almost about to kill him, but when he sees the monster hunters, he gets distracted. At that moment, Ao Bing seizes the chance to freeze him. Yet Bao doesn't give up, cuts off his own hands, and falls to the ground. Suddenly the spell's effect ends, and the rain disappears. Ao Bing tells him that he didn't need to cut his hands because he never meant to hurt him in the first place. Suddenly, Bao's students gather around their master to protect him, but to everyone's surprise, Bao orders them to throw down their weapons. He tells them that these guests came from Chang Palace to take them and rehabilitate them again. The monster hunters intervene and restrain Bao and all his students. But suddenly, Xiao arrives and attacks the monster hunters, fighting them one by one to save his father. He becomes furious when he sees his father's severed hands with Ao Bing and starts fighting him and the other hunters. Then Dairo intervenes, shooting an arrow toward Xiao to kill him. Bao tries to save him, but the arrow pierces both of them. Even so, Bao breaks the ice, grabs Xiao, and escapes through the water. When Dairo sees what happened, he fires many arrows at them, destroying the river, and they almost reach Bao and Xiao. But at the last moment, Bao manages to get out and orders Xiao to run quickly. Xiao escapes, and when Dairo aims another arrow at him to kill him, Ao Bing stops him, showing compassion for the dying Bao, whose life ends soon after. We return to the city and see the monsters again, learning that they brought all the food and medicine Li Jing had asked Shen for. Because of this, Li Jing invites Shen to dinner. A little later, we see the sea beast serving them food after becoming one of Li Jing's followers. During this time, Li Jing and his wife Yin decide to take advantage of the opportunity and try to convince Shen to change his mind, reminding him that, after all, he is one of Master Tianzuan's disciples. But Shen believes he has reached a point of no return. Suddenly, the monsters arrive carrying the injured Xiao. Shen is shocked, runs toward him to check on him, and Xiao tells him that the monster hunters attacked them, explaining that one of them named NeZha cut off their father's arm and killed him. Suddenly, Xiao dies and returns to his original form. Shen is devastated, heartbroken, and cries because he has lost everything he had. We return to NeZha and Dairo, with Dairo congratulating him for passing the second level. He tells him that the third and final level is to capture the Queen of Monsters, who lives in a distant place called Skull Mountain. While they are talking, the fortress guards suddenly arrive and tell NeZha and Tai that a disaster has happened in the city. As soon as NeZha and his companions arrive, they are shocked to find the city completely destroyed, reduced to rubble and molten volcanic remains. NeZha is heartbroken, crying as he searches for his father and mother, but sadly finds only the remains of the townspeople who died trying to escape. While searching, he finds his mother's helmet, realizing she and his father are gone, and cries bitterly for being left alone. Suddenly, Wooly Yang and Karina arrive, stunned by what they see. Dairo comes and explains that they still don't know what happened, as the fortress guards completely lost their memory. Wooly Yang is bewildered, unable to understand how the city burned with lava when there are no volcanoes nearby. Suddenly, Dairo notices dragon claw marks and realizes they were behind it all. Wooly Yang recalls that the dragoness Ao Run possesses the sky-splitting claw, meaning she must have brought the lava and the monsters here. That confirms the Dragon King has betrayed them. The disaster he feared has come true. At that moment, NeZha, furious, steps in and insists that the dragons are the ones who destroyed the city. He turns the flying pig into fire wheels and rushes towards Skull Mountain to complete the third trial. And he starts thinking about what he will do, while Wooly Yang says that the dragons betrayed them and killed innocent people who had no guilt, and that because of this he doesn't have to consult the masters in order to take revenge on them. He explains to Tai that they must protect NeZha after the death of his father and mother at the hands of the dragons, and he asks him and Dairo to follow NeZha and stay with him. On the other hand, we see NeZha flying at a very high speed, and at that moment Ao Bing appears and tries to calm him down, but NeZha doesn't care about anything except avenging those who killed his family. Then we go to Skull Mountain, where we see the Queen of Monsters. Suddenly, NeZha storms the place and attacks her with powerful blows. The Queen of Monsters doesn't understand the reason for all this, but NeZha continues attacking her with fire power and completely shatters her. But suddenly, the Queen of Monsters attacks him back in her true form. At that moment, NeZha dodges her attacks, runs fast, and destroys all the rocks in his path until he exits the mountain. Then we discover that the Queen of Monsters is actually the entire mountain itself. She strikes NeZha with a powerful blow and pins him to the ground. NeZha then uses all his strength, not caring that his body might collapse, and releases a giant flame lotus from underground that swallows the Queen of Monsters completely and turns her into ashes. As soon as Tai and Dairo arrive, they find the place completely destroyed and see the Queen of Monsters turned into a small piece of stone. Tai throws a spell on her and traps her in a small prison. Then he goes to NeZha and blames him for what he did because he could have completely destroyed his body. At that moment, Dairo arrives, surprised by the presence of fire, and feels that there is an evil force around them. But Tai distracts him, explaining that NeZha is a talented student who can control both ice and fire powers, and that the source of the evil force must be the Queen of Monsters. After a while, they all return to Chan Palace and go to Wooly Yang, who begins performing the protection spell on NeZha, who looks determined to take revenge in any way possible. Wooly Yang gives him the protection amulet, and they both go down underground, where they reach the treasure vault. There, Wooly Yang asks him which magical tool he wants, and NeZha asks for the restoration elixir and takes it. A little later, we see an army of monster hunters preparing for war. Wooly Yang tells them they must attack the dragons to avenge what they did to the city. He asks NeZha if he is ready to join them, and NeZha replies that he will go to the city first and then return to take revenge on the Dragon King. Before NeZha leaves, Wooly Yang comforts him and assures him that they need his combat power to defeat the Dragon King, then allows him to go. NeZha moves toward the city, and as soon as he leaves, Wooly Yang casts a spell on Chan Palace. The palace and its cauldron move from their place, revealing their true size, massive, far larger than the palace or anything else. Then we return to Tai, who has gone back to the city again. There, he uses the restoration elixir to heal the lotus flower. We see Ao Bing asking NeZha to wait until his body is ready, promising that he will go with him to the Dragon Palace to understand what really happened. But NeZha refuses, saying he has already repaid his debt and advising him not to follow, as he will take revenge on anyone responsible for his family's death. He leaves, and when Ao Bing tries to follow, Tai stops him, casts a spell, and traps him inside it so that his spirit won't fade away. Suddenly, they both see the sea beast emerging from underground. Then we move to the middle of the ocean, where we see the water shifting massively, creating a giant chasm that reveals the Dragon Palace. Inside the palace, we see Ao Guang leaving his body, rising upward, and returning to his human form to understand what's happening. At that moment, Wuli Yang explains that he and the hunter army came to take revenge on the dragons for what they did to the city. Ao Guang realizes they discovered the truth about the spirit orb of goodness and pleads with Wuli Yang to spare his son's life, saying he'll accept any punishment in exchange for his safety. But Wuli Yang reminds him that his mission was to protect innocent people from monsters, and instead he used them to destroy an entire city. Ao Guang realizes a disaster happened in the city. At that moment, Wuli Yang lowers the giant cauldron over the ocean chasm and casts a spell that splits it into many parts. Ao Guang becomes afraid, descends into the palace, returns to his body, and yells at his siblings, asking them what happened in the city. Ao Run tells him they carried out Shin's orders exactly as commanded, and they all mock him and return to the lava. We return to the cauldron fragments sinking deeper around the Dragon Palace into the ocean's depths. Ao Guang orders his followers to protect the palace and stop anyone from moving the pillar sealed with the chain spell. He tells them he will face Wuli Yang himself, then leaves the palace, returns to his human form, and attacks Wuli Yang. But suddenly, Karina blocks him and attacks with wind power, and Dairo joins her, shooting many arrows at him. Ao Guang creates a water cyclone to protect himself. Meanwhile, underground, Ao Run and her siblings encourage the monsters to attack the pillar's spell to free themselves. All the dragons and monsters strike the pillar together, pushing it upward. The pillar moves, rising from the lava, and as soon as the monsters emerge, the dragons pounce on them, and a fierce battle begins between the monsters and the dragons. We return to Ao Guang, who forms a giant sword of water and attacks Karina. Even though her wings are large, she can't block his attacks. Ao Guang takes advantage of the moment and lunges at Wuli Yang, but suddenly NeZha arrives, collides with him, and drags him into the ocean depths. At that moment, NeZha knows Ao Guang is the one responsible for the death of his father and mother and the destruction of the city, and thus a fierce battle begins between them both. And at that moment, we see the parts of the cauldron sinking deeper and deeper into the ocean, getting closer together and surrounding the Dragon Palace from every direction. As soon as the dragons and monsters realize the situation they are in, they are shocked and run quickly, hoping to escape their inevitable death. But unfortunately, all the parts of the cauldron join together and close, leaving no way for them to escape. Then Wuli Yang moves the cauldron and lifts it out of the volcanic lava with the dragons and monsters trapped inside. Once he raises them above the water, the sea returns to its place again, and we see the army of monster hunters, made up of millions of hunters, ready to attack any monster or dragon that comes out of the cauldron. After a while, Ao Guang and NeZha emerge from the water, and Ao Guang uses his power to attack NeZha with a giant water dragon. But NeZha charges at him with the fire spear, and they both collide with tremendous force. Suddenly, NeZha uses all the power of the fire spear to attack Ao Guang, successfully defeating him and throwing him into the cauldron along with the other monsters and dragons. At that moment, Wuli Yang takes advantage of the situation and seals the cauldron so that no one can escape. Inside the cauldron, Ao Guang is shocked when he doesn't find the chain spell and realizes that his siblings betrayed him. Wuli Yang then goes to NeZha, congratulating him for what he did, amazed that even the Dragon King couldn't withstand his incredible power. He tells him that he must become one of them and follow the path of his father and mother in fighting monsters. He explains that the cauldron's ability is to turn the monsters inside it into energy pills. He sits on top of the cauldron and begins chanting a spell over it, but NeZha is not interested in any of it. He feels hopeless and deeply saddened by the loss of his family. The surprise comes when NeZha sees his father and mother arriving with Tai and Ao Bing. His mother hugs him, checking on his body, which is on the verge of collapse. NeZha cries and screams because he thought they were dead, but his father comforts him and tells him that Wuliyang is behind everything that happened. He begins to tell the story, taking them back in time to the past, to the moment of Zhao's death. At that very moment, a strange dragon appeared in the sky, so powerful that it destroyed the guard's fortress. Before it could attack, Ao Run and her siblings intervened, attacking the dragon with all their strength and shattering it into small pieces. Then it turns out that Wuliyang was disguised as that dragon. He is surprised to find Shun with the dragons in the city. As soon as Shun sees Wuliyang, he becomes furious and blames him for sending the monster hunters to attack his family and destroy his clan, realizing that the arrow that killed his brother was fired by Wuliyang's disciple, Dairo. Shun continues, telling him that he understands his plan, that he attacked the city like that to frame the dragons, giving himself an excuse to attack them and turn them into energy pills. Wuliyang laughs evilly because Shun has figured out his vile scheme. At that moment, Ao Run and her siblings intervene, surround Wuliyang, and unexpectedly offer to become his followers. They tell him that they know the truth about the spirit orb of goodness and the spirit orb of evil, in exchange for being freed from the chain spell. One of the dragons tells him that they are betraying their brother just as he once betrayed them by surrendering in the war and imprisoning them in the dragon palace. Wuliyang accepts the dragon's offer on the condition that he curses them to never disobey his orders. If they act against his will, they will die instantly. As soon as he destroys the chain spell, Shun takes Li Jing, his wife Yin, and the sea beast and heads to the city. Meanwhile, Ao Run gives each of her siblings a piece of the claw, and they all open portals above the city. Those portals pour volcanic lava and release monsters. Panic spreads among the townspeople as they run desperately to escape, but sadly, there is no way out. Wuliyang watches, enjoying all the destruction happening in the city. We then see Li Jing, his wife Yin, and the sea beast fighting countless monsters. Although Shun helps and fights beside them, they can't resist and are forced to hide to survive. The sea beast tries to turn Li Jing and Yin into stone to save them, then escapes through the sewers to survive the lava and monster attacks. Shun, believing he has nothing left to live for, throws himself at the monsters, fighting them bravely even though his death is certain. We return to the present time, where we see Li Jing talking to the monster hunter army, trying to make them understand that all the monsters they captured were being exploited by Wuliyang to turn into energy pills, not rehabilitated. Tai Yi is shocked and disgusted by Wuliyang's cruel actions, trying to explain the truth to the hunters, that Wuliyang's real goal is to increase the master's power at the expense of innocent monsters' lives. But none of the hunters are affected by his words. Dairo explains that every hunter there has unbreakable loyalty to Wuliyang. When Ao Bing throws his weapon at Wuliyang, Karina blocks it and attacks him. The two of them fight fiercely. Meanwhile, NeZha is enraged that they had been deceiving him all this time. He charges at Dairo and attacks him. Dairo, terrified, pulls out Ao Run's claw and fires it into the sky, opening a portal inside the cauldron. We return to Ao Run and her siblings, who tell Ao Guang that they betrayed him just as he once betrayed them. Ao Guang is heartbroken and tells them he did everything to protect the dragons, but they don't care and step through the portal, which closes and disappears. On the other side, Ao Run and her brothers, Ao Shan and Ao Qin, transform from dragons into their true forms. Ao Qin charges at Ao Bing, and they fight fiercely. After an intense battle, Ao Bing manages to distract him and freeze his blades. When NeZha comes to help, Ao Shan reaches him and attacks. NeZha drops his spear and attacks Ao Shan with the fire wheels. At that moment, Ao Qin takes advantage of the fire spear and attacks Ao Bing with it. Ao Bing dodges each strike, grabs the spear from him, and counterattacks. Using the spear, Ao Qin breaks his own frozen blades and frees himself from Ao Bing's ice. And we return again to NeZha, who ties Ao Shan with the red scarf, strikes him hard, and throws him beside his brother. Then he takes the spear and tells them that they are the reason for everything that happened to the dragons, and that he will sacrifice his life to save them even if his body collapses. Suddenly, Ao joins the battle and attacks NeZha and Ao, who are unable to touch her because she moves at very high speed and can block their attacks both at the same time, throwing them far away. Meanwhile, Li Jing and his wife Yin try to attack Wu Yang, but Dairo shoots arrows at them, and Tai fights Karina, dodging her powerful strikes. At that moment, NeZha and Ao attack Ao, who opens portals for Ao Shan and Ao Qin, and they attack NeZha and Ao. A fierce battle breaks out between them, and unfortunately, the dragons have the upper hand. Then NeZha gets an idea and tells it to Ao. The two start attacking each other, and their strikes produce a huge amount of steam that covers the entire place. When Ao Shan sees NeZha in the steam, he rushes to attack, but then discovers that it was his brother Ao Qin. When Ao Shan turns, he realizes that it was NeZha disguised as Ao Qin, who stabs him with his sword, mocks him, and runs away. Ao Shan becomes furious and chases him until he finds him and attacks him, and NeZha joins him, helping to fight the real Ao Qin, who tries to dodge their attacks, confused about what is happening, until Ao Shan hits him with a very strong strike. Suddenly, Ao appears disguised as Ao Shan, strikes the real Ao Shan, mocks him together with NeZha, and they run into the steam, leaving the two brothers to fight each other. On the other hand, we see Wu Yang finishing his spell, which causes the fire inside the cauldron to ignite violently. One of the monster leaders believes that the fire will not harm them since they lived in volcanic lava, but he is shocked when the fire touches his arm and burns it. Then we return to Wu Yang defending himself from Ao attack. He immobilizes Ao with many spikes appearing all over his body. When NeZha sees what happens, he rushes to help him, but Wu Yang immobilizes him too with the same spikes, taking the red scarf and the fire spear from him. At that moment, Tai realizes that the spell Wu Yang had cast on NeZha was not a protection spell. Suddenly, Wu Yang uses the power of the roots to restrain Li Jing and his wife Yin, then attacks Tai and ties him up beside them, placing all of them next to NeZha and Ao. When NeZha tries to free himself, Wu Yang mocks him, telling him that the power of the demon orb can never break the cursed spell he cast on him, explaining that 1,000 spikes have pierced his body and that if he moves, he will be torn apart. Then he takes NeZha and the others and throws them into the cauldron, but before they fall into the fire, Ao saves them, lowering them safely. Sadly, he cannot hug his son. He draws his sword and frees Li Jing and his wife Yin, then breaks the chain curse, freeing all the monsters in the cauldron. He tells them that they must unite because their fate is now one. Meanwhile, Tai blames Wu Yang for his actions, telling him that he is committing a great crime. But Wu Yang doesn't care, silences him, and says he's doing all this for their sake, because the masters don't train seriously, and without energy pills, they can't fight the monsters. He is convinced that all his actions are right. Inside the cauldron, the monsters are terrified, especially when one of them fades away and turns into an energy pill. As fear spreads among them, Ao intervenes, calming them and asking everyone to conserve their energy as long as possible. They do so, visibly terrified. At that time, Ao believes that no matter how strong they are, they can't survive here for long. NeZha becomes heartbroken when he sees his mother losing her strength. He keeps encouraging her to endure and is confused about why he doesn't feel the power of the surrounding flames. At that moment, Ao reminds him that the power of the demon orb is fire, which means the flames of the cauldron can't harm him. He tells him that he's the only one who will survive. Suddenly, a spectral image of Wu Yang appears inside the cauldron, amazed that NeZha isn't dead. He tells him that he will spare his father's and mother's lives in exchange for NeZha taking one of the forgetfulness pills and becoming one of his followers. Since NeZha wants to save his parents at any cost, he decides to do it, but at the last moment Yin intervenes, takes the pill, and throws it into the lava. Li Jing tells NeZha they will never accept to live if it means he sacrifices everything. Wu Liyang becomes enraged and says he will find a way to destroy the demon orb, then disappears. NeZha cries in sorrow because he will remain alive and have to watch his parents die before his eyes. His mother hugs him, enduring the pain of the spikes, comforting him, and telling him that no matter how much pain she feels, she will stay with him. NeZha screams and cries uncontrollably, recalling his childhood memories with his mother and remembering how kind she was to him. He keeps crying and apologizing for always causing her pain. But she doesn't care about anything except dying in his arms, easing his sorrow, and telling him she enjoyed every moment of her life with him. She slowly fades away until she disappears completely and turns into an energy pill. Everyone there is heartbroken and deeply saddened. Li Jing weeps over the loss of his wife. Suddenly, NeZha becomes furious, his whole body ignites, and he moves despite the spikes cutting through him, ignoring Ao Bing's and Li Jing's warnings until his body tears apart and shatters. But thanks to the fire power of the cauldron, NeZha's body reforms, returning to his true form, causing a massive explosion. Everyone is shocked by the terrifying and immense power of NeZha. Then NeZha transfers the ring to his hand, takes his mother's orb, gives it to his father, and asks him to protect it. He bids farewell to Ao Bing, burns away all the spikes from his body, freeing him so he can help destroy the cauldron once and for all. Suddenly, NeZha and Ao Bing unite together. And they use the power of the Chaos Orb and begin absorbing the cauldron's energy, directing it toward the lid and moving it. Because of this, Wu Liyang is shocked and flies up into the sky, making the roots spread everywhere and seal the lid completely. Suddenly, the roots extend more and more, growing enormously in size. At that moment, Dairo orders the monster hunters to intervene, and indeed, the army of millions of hunters moves quickly, flies into the sky, lands on the spreading roots, and each one surrounds himself with a fortress for protection. They all unite together, forming a giant tree above the cauldron lid so that no one can escape no matter how powerful they are. Because of that, NeZha and Ao Bing can't continue executing their plan until they find themselves standing on the spell pillar. We see that the one who moved the pillar is Ao Guang, with the help of the dragons. He goes to tell his son that they have avoided this war as much as possible, but now there is no escape from it. Suddenly, the leader of the monsters joins them with his followers, millions of monsters, and Li Jing also joins in, helping the monsters push the pillar upward. They actually manage to move it. On the other side, Wu Liyang and his followers use their power to create strong energy waves that push the lid downward. Suddenly, those waves reach the pillar and blow away a large number of monsters standing on it. Even though the monsters begin turning into energy pills one after another, they don't give up and continue pushing the pillar upward to free themselves. Thanks to their determination and persistence, NeZha and Ao Bing absorb even more energy and direct it toward the cauldron's lid, managing to move it from its place. Because their power is so great, the lid cracks and explodes. They continue pushing the pillar through the heart of the tree, destroying it piece by piece. Wu Liyang is shocked by what happened and retreats from the cauldron with his followers. Suddenly, the tree collapses, the cauldron explodes, and it is completely destroyed. Wu Liyang grieves and cries because their greatest treasure has been destroyed. He gathers his followers from the monster hunters to prepare for battle. On the other side, Ao Guang leads the monsters, who are ready for war, while NeZha and Ao Bing stand on the pillar, fully prepared to fight with all their strength. At that time, Wu Liyang, enraged by what happened, begins to transform in a strange way and reveals his true form. As soon as the tree roots attach to him, he orders his followers to begin the battle. The army of hunters and Wu Liyang's other followers charge toward the monsters, while Ao Guang and his monsters charge toward them. The two armies collide, and a very bloody battle begins between the monsters and the hunters. We see Ao Guang fighting Karina, dodging Dairo's arrows, and forming a giant water dragon to attack them. Karina and Dairo can't withstand his attack and revert to their true forms, revealing that they were monsters all along. Li Jing goes to free Tai so he can help them. Wooly Yang uses the surrounding roots to fight off the attacking monsters. Suddenly, he sees NeZha and Ao Bing rushing toward him at high speed, so he traps them inside the roots surrounding them from every side. Even though they destroy many roots, he manages to restrain them and begins striking them using the roots that mimic his movements, squeezing them with all his strength to choke them. At that moment, NeZha and Ao Bing use the power of the Chaos Orb and manage to absorb the energy of the roots surrounding them. Because of their immense power, the two cause a massive explosion. Wooly Yang panics when he sees NeZha's arms and Ao Bing after he transforms into his dragon form. The two unite together, dodging the roots' attacks. Ao Bing then slashes them with all his strength, while NeZha charges at Wooly Yang with powerful consecutive strikes. Wooly Yang can't block any of the blows and starts retreating. He offers NeZha the protection amulet in exchange for sparing his life, telling him this is his last chance. But NeZha refuses his offer, destroys the amulet, and attacks him again with very strong strikes. Ao Bing pulls him out from among the roots, throws him upward, and freezes him with ice. Suddenly, NeZha charges and hits him with a powerful blow that shatters the ice completely, sending him crashing violently into the pillar. After a while, Karina and Dairo go to check on Wooly Yang, who has completely lost his strength and returned to his normal form. Before NeZha can deliver the final blow, Wooly Yang and his followers escape through Ao Run's portal. The force of NeZha's strike moves the pillar from its place, frightening Wooly Yang, who escapes with Ao Run from the battlefield. Then Ao Shan and Ao Qin follow them along with the rest of the hunter army. At that moment, all the monsters and dragons rejoice and celebrate when they see the hunters fleeing. But NeZha and Ao Bing know this is only the beginning of a much greater war. After a while, we see them all on the city walls, where Ao Bing tells NeZha that he and his father will take the dragons and hide at the bottom of the ocean. He bids farewell to NeZha, telling him he won't rest until he avenges his mother's death and determines his fate by himself, even if it costs him his life. Ao Guang intervenes, reminding him that Wooly Yang is one of the strongest masters and will not give up easily. Then he takes Ao Bing and dives into the sea, leading the dragon army. After that, we go to Chan Palace, where we see Wooly Yang taking Karina and Dairo to a secret place. As they walk, Wooly Yang explains that they must end this war before Master Tianzuan returns. They keep walking until they reach a specific cell, and we are surprised to see that the cell contains Shen, who is still alive. He mocks Wooly Yang for the marks on his face. Then Wooly Yang brings out his father, Bao, who is also still alive, and offers to curse him with a certain spell in exchange for freeing his father and letting him live in Chan Palace. As soon as they hear the sound of the horn, they realize someone has entered the palace, the two people Wooly Yang summoned. They are shocked when they see them and discover that they are NeZha's brothers. At that moment, we understand that Wooly Yang is planning something very evil. We return again to Ao Guang, who notices his son is very sad. He stops and tells him that in the past, he forced him to do things he didn't want to do, but now he has decided to give him the freedom to choose his own destiny. Ao Bing is moved and hugs his father, who hugs him back. Then we go to NeZha, who is very happy that his friend has returned. Finally, NeZha and Ao Bing decide to choose their own destiny after fighting a bloody battle to avenge those who destroyed their city. They prepare once again to fight a new battle and save the world from danger. The story ends. If you like it, don't forget to like, subscribe, check the backup channel for real movie summaries in the first comment, and catch the previous videos. Bye!